The invite was sitting in my calendar 3 days before anyone said anything was wrong. I noticed it on a Tuesday morning, standing behind the last chair in the conference room the way I always do. Never sit. Never commit to a position in a room where the positions keep shifting. The block said, Internal Review, Ops Compliance, and the timestamp in the details panel showed it was created 4 days prior. I hadn't put it there. I opened it again. Created by System Admin. Attendees, me, Lena, Noah, Marin. No description. No agenda. When Lena walked in that morning, she glanced at the screen and said, "Oh, they just added that this morning. HR thing. Probably routine." She said it the way she always does, repeating the shape of a sentence someone else gave her. I didn't say anything. I closed the window and wrote down the timestamp on a piece of paper I kept in my clipboard. The job had been mine for 4 months under a provisional contract. Shift lead in a windowless operations office bolted to the side of a warehouse. Badge doors, shared printers, locked cabinets, clipboards that moved between people and desks the way paper always does when nobody owns anything officially. The daily loop was early metrics call, floor walk, report cleanup, end-of-day sign-offs. Simple. Repeating. I had been paying attention because I had to. One formal complaint during the provisional period resets the contract. I don't get a conversation about it. I get a letter and a new start date. And everyone who watched it happen gets a little more comfortable with the next version of the test. The loop itself was fine. The metrics call ran 8 minutes most mornings. Lena on one end of the table, Noah with his laptop open and a fresh screenshot of the dashboard he'd taken 30 seconds before the call started. Marin dialing in from wherever she was that day, asking what time exactly a given number had been logged. The floor walk was mine alone. I moved through it the same way every morning. Bay doors first, then the cabinet row, then the shared printer station where jobs queued up and sat until someone came to collect them. I knew whose jobs printed when. I knew whose badge opened which door and at what intervals. I knew the room. 3 weeks before the review appeared on the calendar, information I had shared internally started showing up in places it shouldn't. Not publicly, not loudly. Quietly. In a vendor meeting I hadn't attended. In a summary email that referenced a policy adjustment I had only described verbally inside this building. Small things. The kind of thing where you can't say anything without sounding paranoid, which means the person responsible can keep doing it without friction. So I did something boring. I printed 3 versions of an updated rule sheet. Same title, same header, same first 4 sections. The last paragraph was different in each one. Not dramatically. One version said the review window was 14 days. One said 12. One said 10. I adjusted the font size in the footer by half a point across each copy. I noted which version went to which person. Lena got the 12-day version. Noah got the 10-day version. And I kept the 14-day version myself. I filed the distribution log in a locked drawer and put my copy in there with it. Then I went back to the floor and ran the afternoon sign-offs like nothing had changed. Noah is the analyst. He helps with everything and remembers everything. Pulls reports, logs requests, screenshots pages just in case. He's useful, and he knows he's useful. I've watched him angle for an internal transfer recommendation for 3 months, calibrating every task against who's watching. About a week after I distributed the sheets, we had a routine debrief in the small room off the main floor. I was standing behind the last chair. Noah was going through a procedural checklist. checking items against a printout he'd brought with him when he referenced the review window. He said, 12 days, without pausing, without citing anything. The way you say a number when you've absorbed it from a document and it lives in your head as fact now. He was holding his copy, the 10-day version. He'd quoted Lena's number. I set my pen flat on the clipboard and wrote it down when I got back to my desk. Not as proof, not yet. As a fixed point. The second thing came from the document system. Every file in the shared drive logs edits by user account and timestamp, down to the minute. I had locked my version of the rule sheet and hadn't touched it since the day I printed it. When I pulled the version history, I found an edit at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday. A clause had been inserted at the end of Section 3, a sentence about supervisor acknowledgement that I had not written. The account that made the edit was listed as mine. I pulled the badge access log for that night. The door that opens to the printer alcove in the cabinet row registered 2 entries after 10 p.m. The first was at 11:31. The second was at 11:58. My keycard had been scanned out at the main entrance at 9:14 p.m. that same night. I have a mileage log from a fill-up at a station 40 minutes out that puts me off-site until after midnight. The edit was made from my account. In a part of the building I wasn't in. By someone who had access to my credentials, or to a session I'd left open. Or by someone who could make it appear that way. I didn't know which. I still don't. I went back through the previous 2 weeks of badge logs after that. Not just for that door, but for all of them. There's a pattern in the data if you know what you're looking at. Certain entries cluster in the 10 minutes after the main floor clears out. Same door. Varying accounts. I printed those pages and put them in the folder with the rest of it. But I haven't figured out what they mean yet. And I'm not going to present something I can't explain cleanly. What I knew was that the version history showed me editing a document after hours, inserting a clause, and that if Marin pulled that log during the review, which she would, because Marin's job is to close cases on a timeline and she collects timestamps the way other people collect receipts, it would look like I had altered compliance records. I thought about going to Marin directly. I didn't. Marin closes cases fast. She doesn't need them to be right. If I walked in with a story about someone using my credentials, I become the person who brought a complicated story when a simple one was already available. The case would close around whatever was easiest to document. And what was easiest to document had my account attached to it. Instead, I sent a sign-off request. Routine procedure. Everyone initials a cover sheet confirming they've reviewed the attached materials before the review date. The attachment code on each person's version was unique, generated from the distribution key I'd been keeping in my locked drawer. If you initialed it, you confirmed which copy you'd been working from. If you hadn't been working from any copy, you'd have to ask where yours was. Either way, it was information. Lena initialed hers the same afternoon without reading it. I watched her do it from across the room, pen moving before she'd cleared the second line of the header. Noah sat with his for 2 days. When he returned it, the initials were there, but the attachment code had been left blank. He said the form had printed wrong. I said I'd noted. He waited a beat, like he expected something else, then went back to his desk. Later that afternoon, I saw him at the shared printer, collecting a job. He took it without looking at it and walked back through the badge door without stopping. I don't know what he printed. I didn't ask. Marin never sent hers back. She emailed me to say the sign-off wasn't required for her role under the current scope of review. She cited a subsection. The citation was accurate. The review is 2 days out. The distribution key is in my drawer. The badge log and the mileage receipt are in a folder behind it, along with the version history printed and time-stamped. Noah's number is written on a slip of paper clipped to the inside cover. That's the position I'm going into it with. I found the envelope in my locker at the end of my shift. Plain, sealed, no name on the outside. Inside was a single printed sheet. My version of the rule sheet, the 14-day version, the one I had kept in a locked drawer and never distributed. Same header, same 4 sections, formatted the same way. There was a 5th section at the bottom. It was a short paragraph, 3 sentences, cleanly formatted to match the rest of the document. It described a series of actions, dates, access patterns, a distribution of documents designed to set up coworkers for a compliance finding. It read like a summary. It read like something you'd attach to a case file. I don't know who put it in my locker. I don't know when. I read it twice, slid it back into the envelope, and tucked the envelope flat under my clipboard without folding it. Then I badged back through the door and walked out onto the floor.